Blessings, fellow weird and wild ones. My name's Goddess, aka G, aka your friendly neighborhood witch. They, them, their pronouns, please and thank you, point blank, period. Thank you for joining me in the practice of finding our way back to wholeness. This is our temple, our playground, our life, and our truths. During our audio session together, I will be talking with my village on how we are healing, changing paradigms, and decolonizing and degendering the mind. You are not alone. You are enough. Let's plant these divine seeds together. This work is for the collective from me, Brandon, Brenda, Kay, and Vesta. And there's a lot of magic that goes on behind the scenes. Find ways to support and reciprocate all the co-creators on the show at the links below. Grab your pens and paper, grab your woes, and let go. You can rest. Ashley is a biracial, cisgender woman sharing somatic tools, intuitive and functional movement, self-inquiry, and embodiment practices to help people reconnect to the wisdom of the earth, body, and soul. She is currently exploring practice and study in nervous system health, womb wellness, and supporting holistic well-being during the journey of birth. Ashley is passionate about integrating ritual and traditional practices into daily life and creating safe, communal, and individual space for herself and others to process personal and generational trauma, unravel the effects of living in systems of oppression, and transmute old programs and limiting beliefs into self-love and compassion, wholeness, resiliency, and creativity. I'm so happy that you're here with me today. Thank you so much, Ashley, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So before we get started with all the questions and the conversation, we start each podcast with just resharing our pronouns, our race, and our ethnicity embodied, and then we do a little check-in. So I'll go first. My name's Goddess. I use they, them, their pronouns exclusively, and I am Black-bodied. How about you, Ashley?
Yeah, I use she, her pronouns, and I'm Black cisgendered woman.
Thank you. And I'm glad you added that to your bio too. So we usually do a check-in where like I ask a question, but I will say that Ashley is a dear, dear, dear friend of mine. And so I thought we could just start the conversation just with an affirmation of our friendship and this space, because I believe that this conversation we are sharing with others, some we know, some we don't know, is an extension of the beautiful conversations we have through our friendship. And I just want to say I'm so deeply grateful for you and how you hold space, and you have just been such a huge, steady current of love and truth throughout this pandemic for me. So thank you, and thank you for the continuation of our journey together on this podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. I feel honored to be here with you and to be kind of walking beside you on this journey. You've been really a rock for me, a mirror for me. I think it was maybe a little over a year ago, that we really started to connect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been such a beautiful process to share with you and to see you and to be seen by you. I feel like you're really helping me to step into myself and birth myself. You're like a midwife.
I am so I'm going to take all that in. Thank you. I'm honored. Yeah. I won't be a doula, but I will definitely happily be a midwife, like mid-person, whatever, for people in finding themselves. And that actually goes along. We'll talk about that like later down in the podcast, but about birthing body and soul, which is your baby, and how that is very much a part of that intention. So, yay! Yeah. So, the first question is around all the beautiful stories and pictures you've been sending me. You've been creating and sharing space in such beautiful Black-centered community in Bermuda. Can you share with us some of your recent experiences?
Yeah, we have been having some really beautiful events and sharings here around bringing African spirituality and honoring our ancestors and the deities. So I'm a part of a group called the Black Healing Collective. And we are a really diverse group of healers and storytellers and artists and spiritualists. And we've just recently started to coming together, really motivated by the Black Lives Matter movement, actually. We all kind of saw the need to create safe space for Black people to be able to heal together in community and tell our stories. So, yeah, we come together a couple times a month and we share healing practices. We meditate together. We share what's coming up for us. And we're really just kind of beginning to create like a community and a safe container for each other. We're also, well, in August, we had a couple of events that were kind of more open for the public and for the community to really acknowledge and honor our ancestors. So one was a healing ceremony by the water it was on the anniversary of the Haitian Revolution, which is now it's the International Day for the Remembrance of the Slave Trade and its abolition. It was recognized by the UN and named that. So we brought people together for a sunrise healing ceremony to pay homage to our ancestors that were victims of slavery in the Middle Passage, it was so beautiful to be together and to share in the circle, share our grief and be held, by the group, and to share our longing for reconnection and to give offerings. It was led by an elder in our community, Iyale, who just has such a powerful way of holding space. And then another event that we did was the next day. It was in collaboration with a young group of people called Youth for Justice. And we created an evening of storytelling and history and music and dance. And we had an open mic. So it was held on a site that used to be a burial site for the enslaved and free people. For many, many years, it was like a mass burial site. And just recently it was dug up and they created a parking lot. So we kind of wanted to really honor our ancestors and our history of slavery in Bermuda. And yeah, it was an incredible evening. It came together so beautifully and organically. And there were a couple of people from the collective that were telling stories and histories of our people. And then we were weaving into that performances and poetry and sharings from the community as well. So yeah, it's been really beautiful to experience this and be a part of the creation of it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you put in so much intention and time into supporting that space. And as you were even telling the story now, like images of just happy, smiling, beautiful Black faces came to mind. And the pictures you sent there, it was just so heartwarming to see different ages coming together to feel all the feeling. And grieve and be joyous. I especially now when I'm in spaces where it's all Black people there, or even just all BIPOC individuals, there's tears that like start to formulate in my like chest, like this like joy, but also deep sadness, and knowing and like where have you been and why didn't I appreciate this before? So how have how has this community building felt like a homecoming for you?
Yeah. I mean, I have the same kinds of sensations that you just described. You know, it's been, it's just been a lot of my life. You know, there were many years where I didn't feel welcome in the Black community, where I felt not a part of it here in Bermuda, especially because I was considered too white, being white passing, and I went to private school when I was like 12, 13. And our schools here are still very segregated. So public schools are mostly Black students and teachers, and private schools are mostly white people. So I was surrounded by the white community, and I lost a sense of my Blackness and my own identity. And I did a lot of things and behaved in ways to help me fit in with whiteness. And I never felt a sense of belonging in the white community or the Black community. So to be home, I also lived a lot of my adult years overseas, so I was surrounded by people with completely different background in Europe, in Spain. So to come home just a couple years ago and to be amongst people who share the same roots and who've had similar experiences as me, to be connecting and sharing with these people on a deeper level than I was able to when I was young. It's really given me more of a sense of belonging that I've never experienced before. So I feel like I'm really finding my soul family. And I feel more supported now than I ever have here, in the community. But I want to add that you are also part of my soul family, through helping me to feel that sense of belonging and support.
I'm taking it in. I'm just so happy. I feel the exact same way. Going back to like what you're saying about being a mirror to each other, there is something about coming home, like the place where you are from and grew up in, and looking around and seeing people with the same experiences, and who are just also Black, because that is just so different in itself. And even when we feel separated or isolated or alienated from our Black communities, we are still very Black to so much of the world. And actually not so much to the world, but just white people, which is the overarching culture.
Exactly.
And to come home to that it holds a lot up to us, and asks us to truly look at ourselves. And I think a lot of the conversations we have had are around just truly seeing who we are, and loving that, and also working toward uprooting the parts that don't love in all it's the ways that we can possibly love. So I see you in that. You went back to your home before I came back to mine, but I also came back to my hometown and have had very similar experiences. And although I'm much darker in complexion than you are, I also grew up like striving to attain to be proximate to whiteness. And because I couldn't do that via my skin, I had to do that via my behavior, and how I talked, and even how I ignored and shamed parts of myself that were just, first of all, inherent, and also just such a beautiful thing that I didn't know were beautiful, like the things we ate, and the way we did our hair, and all of those things I tried to pull away from and separate myself from.
Yeah, I resonate with that.
Yeah. So being in Black community now feels so different. So different. So a lot of the conversation today will be around homecoming and like initiation and what that can mean for us. For so many of us across the African diaspora who might not have gone through initiation processes, what that can mean for us. So we were, I don't know, are you still reading Malidoma Some right now?
I'm not. No, I finished a couple of his books. Though you were reading, Water and the Spirit.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I finished that one. I couldn't put it down. So.
It's so good. It's so good. Okay, awesome. So yeah, we were both, and we didn't plan this at all, but we were both reading books by Malidoma Some. And Ashley actually introduced me to his wife, who is also an amazing writer, and I did not know that. Mm-hmm. And so, like, how did you experience the realization that you were not initiated? And I guess we should probably say more about Malidoma Some for people who don't know. So I'm going to pass that off to you.
Yeah, Malidoma Some. He comes from Burkina Faso, which is the tribe is like the Dagara tribe. And he, in his book, he shares his journey of being a part of a tribe and then being taken by missionaries, by the colonizers, and they were French, and so he, was indoctrinated into their ways, and then he comes back to his tribe in time for initiation, and so it's so interesting to hear, his experience of having been exposed to colonization, and then how he has to reintegrate into his culture. And there was, his experience, as well as it shares the perspective of his community and his elders as well. Yeah, it was such a powerful book.
It was. There were so many parts of it that I found initially, like, and this was me needing to decolonize my mind, like, this cannot be really happening. Like, this is not real. And then I'm like, no, like, you've seen things in your own life. You know that this is possible. And you really have to read the book to understand probably what we're talking about. But it really challenges our perception of what reality can be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really drawn to the parts of his experience and his initiation that involved finding his abilities. And some people might say they're supernatural abilities, to communicate with nature and the spirit world. And then, some of his experiences of just like oneness and universal love, and the details that he's able to describe. And yeah, it's just so touching. Yeah, but it also brought up a lot of grief for me and longing.
Yes.
Because of what we have lost in that opportunity to learn our abilities and connect in these ways, and to kind of live the ways of our ancestors. That's been kind of taken from us and lost through colonization and patriarchy.
The parts of the book where the elders are discussing whether or not to allow him into the initiation. I don't want to spoil the book, but it's just this is such a pivotal part of our own discussion is, it's not a discussion, it's a chat. Super formal. There was such a pain and mourning there because they weren't sure, because he had been a part of the French culture and whiteness for so long that they were afraid that he had lost something that he could never get back. And I there was something there that just felt like a hit to my heart, because I feel like we are striving so much to get back generations of loss, like to to find a way to compensate for that, or to reclaim that. And there was a part of me that knew it was true, that like there's going to be so much that I will never get back. My lineage will never get back. But there's also so much that we can create from the history,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you kind of express that, now we have, you pointed out that we now have the opportunity to recreate. And that was so comforting to me, because, we can't go back. And the truth is, we probably wouldn't want to go back as well, because, there were many ways then that also wouldn't resonate with me now. But I love the idea that we can use the wisdom and that we've kind of gained over the generations of challenges, and create ways of bringing these practices and traditions and rituals to our people in a way that is suitable and appropriate and in resonance with the new world that we want to create.
Yes. Yeah. So in Dagar culture, from what Baldomo was saying, is from birth, there's this please correct me, Ashley, as I stumble through this. There's a separation of like soul from body, and like your life is kind of finding the journey back to soul, like back to wholeness. And so that's why it's so important to go through these initiations, because within each initiation is like another step toward going back to wholeness. And so that was part of the grief and the hesitancy of the elders to allow him to go through these initiations, because he was much older than all the other men. And also that the colonization of like questioning things and wanting to kind of like intellectualize things was so present that he wouldn't be able to fully experience the initiation. And so I guess my question is like, how have you brought like grace and like a sense of space to to repairing and looking at like generational ancestral trauma in your own work, while also understanding that like we're doing this process through a very colonized mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I might have completely fuddled up that question.
Yeah. How have I created space around that? Well, I guess I've really been looking at, and I think that that's what initiation really brings out for people is creating challenges and opportunities to look at the ideas and the belief systems and the values and the conditioning that have been passed down to us from previous generations, for centuries, that are often coming from a place of survival, and that are teaching us to be obedient and groomed, to fit into a white society, a patriarchal society. So yeah, my practices have really been about looking at those belief systems in myself and the ideas that I'm carrying around myself and my power. So yeah, I had this realization that I shared with you before about how I was still carrying on to these ideas that children are supposed to be seen and not heard. And, that children or just anyone to speak only when spoken to, and especially when in the presence of your seniors or people with authority, so that was ingrained in me, and I was carrying that until just recently, really. And that's kept me quiet. I've been such a quiet person. I've been scared to speak up for myself, to speak up for others. It's kept me passive and submissive, and it's led to me feeling these feelings of not being worthy, not being heard, and not being appreciated. And I think it was because I've been still feeling like a child, and so those ideas still applied to me. I felt they did. They had a hold on me, and I realized it's because I didn't have any significant event or moment where I could say, okay, now I'm an adult. Now I know that I have, the strength to handle my responsibilities and step into my power. Which I think, like in other cultures, there are these natural experiences and that are initiations. They're natural initiations. For instance, the menarche, our first bleed as people with wombs, and this is a moment of transition into adulthood, and in a lot of cultures, it's really celebrated and acknowledged for that moment of transition, and that it's like acknowledging that a gateway has been opened, and that we are now a channel for spirit. We're now able to really work with the energies that are coming through us, the creative and sexual energies that are coming through us. And, in our culture, there's still a lot of shame around that. And it's completely brushed aside as if it's something to hide. And yeah, I mean, there are other initiations that people go through that are instilling that strength and power, and recognizing that a person is ready to transition into their power. So it's been quite a process for me to be able to step into my responsibilities and my role as an adult. And I think a big practice for me that has helped me with that is to become a parent to myself. Like to become an adult and a parent to my inner child and to my wounded inner child, to just kind of hold space for her and to feel what she's feeling and allow her to express what she has to say. And then also to fulfill any needs that she might have. So, for instance, that like the needs could be, her needs could be that I need to be active in creating boundaries with other people, or to speak up and to voice what's needs to be expressed. As a parent that is lovingly caring and raising and holding space for their child to exist in this world. So I don't know if that's answered your question.
Ooh, that answered so many questions. And yeah. There's so much there, Ashley. There's so much there.
But yeah, coming back to initiation, it's really an opportunity for us to let go of our conditioning.
Yes.
And to find our own values and ways of being that are in alignment with our truth, and in alignment with, what we're here to do, which is to heal and transform and evolve. And as we kind of wake up to these limiting ways of being, and as we kind of take on these opportunities to step outside of those ways of being and drop them, we can start to move past our trauma, the trauma that's been passed down to us, and we can stop passing that on to future generations.
Yeah.
So, we're using opportunities to step into our I want to say, like, divine parenthood. So, so we can begin parenting our children in ways that are empowering rather than oppressive.
Ooh, divine parenthood. Everyone should write that down. Oh, yes. Yeah. I resonate so much with all of what you have just spoken about. Especially the part about I feel like as I get older and really observe what it means to be an adult from both my own perspective, but also just watching others like navigate it, I just see a whole bunch of really big children. And that's not insulting at all. For me, I notice the ways that if we are brought up not being nurtured in certain ways and being cared for in certain ways, we grow up with this. I don't want to say emptiness, but it's not a full cup. You know what I mean? And so we all have these little beings in us that didn't have the space and the fertile soil in which to fully grow up. And I see that in the way that adults may lash out at other people when they don't get what they want, like similar to a tantrum, and not be able to verbalize when they need something because they weren't taught how to assert their needs in a way that's beneficial for them and everyone around them. And initiation for me feels deep, like I haven't gone through, I would say, what I would like to be an initiation, but the process of reparenting myself has been really grieving and sitting with the little person inside of me who wasn't allowed to grow as a non-binary person. They were forced to grow as a woman. And it does feel like you were saying, like both being a child, and being the parent and like nurturing each other and allowing each other to kind of support each other in the ways that's needed. And I can't fully express that point, but it feels, it starts to fill the spaces that our parents and the adults who helped raise us simply could not do because they didn't know what they didn't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were doing their best for sure. And they were passing down what they thought was helping us, really. But actually a lot of those ways were rooted in slavery. There's this Resmaa Menakem says something. Resmaa Menakem is the author of My Grandmother's Hands. And he talks about how decontextualized trauma in a person can look like personality. And in a family, it looks like family traits. And in a people, it can look like culture. And so we are really, we've created a culture from our wounding. And we are a bunch of adults still acting from our wounded child.
Yes.
So our wounded child needs some care. And we need to care for ourselves before we um, bring and so that we can bring practices and rituals to our youth and our children, but in ways that isn't perpetuating our trauma and passing it on. So it's like, it would be so beautiful to be able to have adults and elders come together as a community to create these initiations and rites of passage for our youth and for our young to really transition into their adulthood. But we need to do that inner work first. We need to come into our wholeness and allow and help to heal our inner children, so that we can help our children to heal and step into their power. And really, it's the next generations that are going to do most of the co-creating for the new world. And I think it's our generations that are, we're in this kind of, we're still in the underworld, really, so an initiation is also a hero's journey. And in the hero's journey, I'm learning about this in the doula training that I'm doing with Birthing from Within, and it talks about birth as a hero's journey, and birth is such a beautiful or it can be a really beautiful and powerful natural initiation into parenthood and adulthood. And it's definitely a hero journey. A hero's journey involves a call to action. It involves a period after you've received the call to action. It involves a period of preparation and then a descent into the underworld, where all of our kind of the parts of ourselves that we've left in the shadows are there waiting in the underworld for us to reclaim them. But we have to first shed a lot of our old ways of being and let go things and beliefs to overcome the challenges and the ordeals that we're faced with to really come back to ourself and to our wholeness. And then, so once we kind of get past those challenges, we come into a period of transformation or integration and transformation, before we can make the journey back to the upper world, before we can kind of come back to our wholeness as integrated beings and be able to share the wisdom that we gained through the whole journey in a way that will benefit our community. So I kind of see us as being in that, like we've gone through as a collective, BIPOC people, and I usually speak about the Black community and collective, because that's kind of the language that we use here in Bermuda. But, we've been through so many challenges and we've been through this ordeal for centuries. And we have been in the underworld, Black and brown people, especially trans and queer folk and women, have been in the underworld for centuries, kind of, with the shadows of ourself and with our wounds. And, in this place of needing to heal and to heal our wounds and integrate the ordeals that we've been going through for so long and that we continue to go through. And so I feel like it's really we're in this place of, and it's really our work as a collective to be in that space of nurturing and caring for ourselves and our bodies and each other. So that we can eventually, come back to the community and work together so that we can build that better world for future generations, or help them to build the better world. We can share our wisdom with them and build the better world.
Yeah.
So we're kind of already as a collective in the midst of an initiation. We're in the kind of postpartum period of birth, and preparing ourselves to come back and actually not just preparing, but we are coming back to our wholeness and to our intrinsic power.
And I think that coming back to wholeness and coming back to community, I think that's where the magic of recreating really starts to manifest, because we've gone through that descent into the underworld and are doing our shadow work. We're looking at our own anti-Blackness, our queer phobia, the ways in which we parcel out and shame the parts of ourselves that are actually really beautiful and complex and make us who we are, because we so badly want to fit into the status quo, which no one really can fit into. There's a very small group of people who can, and even they have, qualities that won't fit that idea of perfection. So coming back into community is where that creation can begin of how we can now function in a community fully whole. Yeah. And when you were talking about the hero's journey, different stories came to mind. One of them was like Homer's Odyssey. But then also Maldomo, and like the initiation. And I thought about how in westernized perspective, we look at a hero's journey as this one person going through a journey, and they have like other people around them just kind of moving around and almost like them directing them. But how really that in itself is a small community of support. And it's, so the hero's journey, you're not doing it alone. You're not doing it alone. You have and different people playing different roles in your life that aid you in the lessons you're learning. And even like the people that we might see as villains, it's not so black and white in reality. They are also playing a role in teaching you something.
Exactly.
A lot of the time about how to create boundaries. But Yeah, I love the program, the way that you have told me about the Birthing from Within program and what you're learning from it, because it's again been a mirror for my own journey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still taking in all you've said.
It's been heavily inspired by our interactions and discussions, and so it's a reflection of you for sure, and me.
I'm trying to find like what to lead into next, but I'm still just reveling in all the beauty and wisdom you have just said.
Well, I wanna really emphasize what you just said about community and support, and like that's such a big piece. That's such a big part of being able to bring ourselves back from the underworld, to really be able to return to wholeness. It definitely takes community, and we have, as a people, we've kind of prided ourselves on being able to survive on our own. That we're strong and we're capable and we don't need anybody. But it's not really about that. Like, we are strong and we are capable. But we are also tribal beings. We're here to, to learn from each other, and we're here to help each other see the parts of ourselves that we might not be able to see. And so that's such a big one. And it's something that we can actively create for ourselves.
Yes.
We don't have to wait around for it to come to us. We can at least set the intention to invite in beings that will help us on our journey.
Yeah. Both in the spirit world and in the physical realm, there's so many allies.
Exactly.
Yeah, so many allies. Exactly. Including the plants and animals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially the plants and animals.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I did want to share a podcast episode that actually really speaks to some of the things we've been talking about. Dr. I think it's Tema, did an episode called Parental Wounds. That I think you might have just heard Max snoring. Sorry. That talks about reparenting and healing from being raised by adults who were wounded themselves. So I encourage folks to give that a listen and breathe into a lot of what she says, because it's there definitely was some places to grieve there. I would love to hear how you imagine an initiation ritual for you at like your current age would look like.
Like now,
like I mean, like who would be there? What would we be celebrating? Because I would definitely be. I used to be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it would be my soul family would be there. There would be for sure elders, as well as young people, babies, people of all ages, people of all ages, of all genders who have African roots. And it would be, I think that there would be this community of people around myself and whoever else would want to be going through this initiation ritual. I think it should be a collective process for sure. But that the focus should be on those people, and the energy and the intention should be for those people who are wanting to step into their power. And it would be, at the same time, I think it would need to be a really long ceremony. I would want it for it to be like many days long, not necessarily with all the community around, but so that there's space for us, the people that initiates, to be away from home and away from their comfort zone and really immersed in nature. I would want a lot of time and space to be in nature and really dive deep into myself and into my inner world, and also into the natural world. So really spending time cultivating my abilities to communicate and create resonance with nature and the natural world and the plants and the trees, and my ancestors, of course. And we'd be celebrating our roots and our creative potential, our creative power, and our creative abilities. We'd be celebrating the sacred feminine and masculine energies that exist within all of us. And the process of initiation would be to learn how to cultivate and integrate them, and how to work with them in a way that benefits the whole. And we'd be celebrating that the role that we all have a role and purpose in society. So it would be celebrating that we have a role in society. Yeah. And then we'd be given space to share our wisdom, to practice sharing our wisdom. We'd be given space to speak, to use our voice, and to be asked questions, to both ask questions and to be asked questions, to inquire into our purpose in this life. And I really value the role of our elders. And so I would really want for there to be elders there who are rooted in their own wholeness and who are connected to their own inner wisdom and earth-based wisdom. And And yeah, there would be a lot of ritual. There would be, it would be an opportunity to really anchor in rituals. So, and practices that are nurturing for our body and for our soul. And that are helping us to live, practices that are helping us to live sustainably and to live healthy lives. So yeah, I guess it would be a whole period where we have the space to come into ourselves and nurture ourselves.
That sounds... Can we do this soon? Like after Rona's over, can we do this? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh,
you come to Bermuda?
Yes.
And we'll immerse ourselves by the water and in the jungle and just find ourselves, parent ourselves and nurture ourselves and each other.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds...
I'm serious.
Oh, yes, I know. I'm so serious. Like, whole body, yes. Whole body, yes. Oh my gosh.
But we're also, we are kind of wanting to create that together as well, right? We've been talking about and have kind of planted seeds for a journey that we will be.
We are on together.
Yeah, that we are on. We are on.
Yeah, we are creating... I don't know how to articulate it right now. Maybe it'll come when we talk about like the services or the offerings that you do, but it feels like we are coalescing, feels like a good word, into this very emergent, like, offering of a way to communicate with our bodies, and really strengthen the ties between our soul and body, and what that can possibly mean in a Black body, in a BIPOC body, in a queer body, and a queer soul, and like a non-binary or like gender fluid body. Like it's just, yeah. I'm so excited for what we're birthing. And again, like this whole conversation is a part of that birthing process for the people listening, right? I'm still just, your whole initiation of meditation. I was like, oh, good. For me, all of that, and I'll just briefly say, I think I would love for my biological parents, or like my elders, my cis hetero elders who have helped to raise me. I would love there to be like a passing off, or like a handing over of teaching to my queer elders. Like, like almost like in marriage, how like your parents hand you off. That feels weird. But like the idea of like knowing that there's certain teachings that they don't have the capacity to take me, like to teach me.
Yeah.
And that my journey in that realm needs to continue with other people feels really important, and I think would just feed a part of me that I'm still learning how to feed myself.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
like it would be a really freeing practice and act, and almost like, cutting the cords, giving you your everything back, giving you your energy and your power back. Like this is yours now. You are now responsible. You are your own parent and your elders, along with your elders.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yeah. That's my ideal part of the initiation, along with what you just said, because I don't want to repeat that. But I think now that because I can't have that, it is like you were saying, more about cutting ties that no longer serve because they can't be freely released, and taking kind of taking the reins myself and reparenting and navigating what it means to be queer and gender fluid. But I could talk to you for hours, but let's talk, because you were already getting into it. So let's talk about birthing body and soul, and some of the other things that you offer.
Yeah, okay. I mean, birthing body and soul, it's like it's really something that is in the process of being birthed. Like it's along with myself. We're still in the womb. But it is, yeah, it's slowly coming out, and it is also being expressed anyway. So yeah, I mean, I bring it into the ways that I work now anyway. I work mostly at the moment, I'm working one-on-one with people, all kinds of people, to help bring practices to nurture and care for their own body and soul. And I love the way that you put it. Like I think you said something like tying our soul back to our body. I love that. And yeah, so, I feel like a lot of what is coming through from in birthing body and soul has just come through in our conversation.
Yeah.
So it's really helping people to birth themselves so that they can better care for others. And yeah, so I share somatic tools and intuitive and functional movement and embodiment practices to help people kind of reconnect to their inner knowing and to their capacity to heal and to create. And a lot of the way that I work it's inspired by nature and the elements. And my focus is mostly or most often on pelvic health and womb wellness. It seems, and I believe that this is where many of us need the most healing at this moment. And I know that is a common interest for you too, Goddess.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm bringing that to to whoever resonates with me. At the moment, it seems like I'm working with a lot of people who are wanting to find balance in and healing in their womb and in their womb space. And I'm also training and practicing as a doula or a birth companion, to help people prepare for conception and for pregnancy and for birth, and or to heal from pregnancy and birth, and to heal from, any trauma that we've been through, especially generational trauma and racialized trauma, sexual trauma. Mm-hmm. So to begin to process that, and that is coming into, that's kind of what will be brought into the journeys that we are going to be co-creating together.
Yes. Yeah, we were talking about that the other day, of like how we imagine like who will be in this space, how can we create spaces for the different types of experiences with wombs, whether you are a man who and all the facets of what it means to be a man, and want to access healing, starting the journey of healing your womb. If you're a woman, if you're, gender fluid, like it's really going to be, I think a lot of times, when we talk about womb health, and I've started to follow, like, what is it? Womb dearmoring, which I love that terminology. It's very heteronormative and like cis, like just man and woman, and in the cis aspects of that. And so this is definitely going to be about exploring these things in a way that's not gendered, or being able to kind of move through the expressions of our gender, in ways that aren't so held fast. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I will say I've experienced Ashley's work, and watching her move. You can check out her. Please go to Ashley's Instagram. Let me plug her. Ashley LOR. Wait, that's not your Instagram, is it? Yeah, Ashley Laura.Aitken. Ashley LORA.AITKEN. You will see her move, like where she's just recording herself, like moving, and you'll watch her movement, and it is like so in tune with like the nature around her, whether it be the water or the wind rustling through the trees. And it's so beautiful. And there's not a word to describe how Ashley connects with movement. There's not a word to describe it, Ashley. I love you so. It is pure magic. And you bring that into how you guide other people in the exploration of their own bodies. Like I was doing, like, I think I was listening to a recording you did, and the way you were directing us to move our bodies, it was like you knew what our bodies needed. Like it wasn't this like go like into this pose and then this pose. It was like really feeling into what is natural and good and juicy for the body. And please reach out to Ashley. Please. Yeah. Can you tell us more about your consultations?
Yeah, I mean, I offer a free consultation, 60-minute consultation, to, anyone who is, pulled to be in touch, and we will, we'll do some talking, and then we would see what practices come up. So I work really intuitively and really with what is needed in the moment. And so I will definitely share a practice, an embodiment or movement practice, or both, in our consultation, and also see, I would try to offer some guidance on different practices, different avenues of of healing, and also whether there is resonance between us. Then see if there's opportunity for us to continue working together in future sessions. But yeah, so it's really, creative, exploratory experiences that I offer, and with a lot of kind of self-inquiry, and just being with and acknowledging what is, and where we are in our body, where we are emotionally, and doing that from a place of gentleness and care. So I'm really excited to receive and give to your community, Goddess. And I also want to acknowledge what you said about, we, no matter what gender, we all have the opportunity to connect to our womb space, and to work with the feminine and masculine energies within us. And I just feel like it's such important work that we all need. And I'm excited to explore that with anyone that resonates with my being. So, yeah.
And I love that, like, the consultation is about also like feeling out if, you guys vibe with each other. Mm-hmm. Y'all folks vibe with each other. Excuse me. Gender. But I love, cause it's that type of work. You deeply, you want to feel safe. You want to be able to, surrender. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that if there isn't, like, there isn't a resonance between you and another person.
Exactly.
So that's so important. Mm-hmm. And Ashley also does sliding scale. Y'all already know how I roll. So if you are white bodied, you need to be paying a fair amount. I'm already going to say that. Reparations, and just also that is how it should be.
Yeah. I think any white body person that is in resonance with me will be okay.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Well said. How can we contact you? Can you say your Instagram one more time, and then some other ways we can get?
Sure. So my Instagram, and it's the same as my email. So it's ashleylora.aitken, ASHLEYLORA dot AITKEN. That's my Instagram. And then my email is ashleylauraaitken at gmail.com. And then my website is birthingbodyandsoul.com.
Yay! I'm so glad you shared that. We're going to talk about that later. Ashley, thank you for sharing space with me today. And thank you for being willing to open up our very tender and personal conversations to the rest of the Sunseed community. I know that people are going to step away from this podcast and breathe, deeply breathe.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me and for encouraging me and guiding me and pushing me through this, being my ally through this journey of sharing my voice, which has been definitely, an initiation for me. So I'm so grateful for you and for the space and for this experience. And I feel like I'm going to leave this conversation with more strength and courage and willingness to share and I'm excited for whatever comes from it, whatever we birth together.
Yes. Yeah. For this BIPOC celebration giveaway, Ashley has has generously decided to give away 3 free movement and embodiment sessions. So if you post on your IG and or Facebook a picture of yourself celebrating your inner child and elder, and your favorite quote from this episode, please tag Ashley Laura Aitken and the @Sunseed Community. And then your handle will be put into a drawing for 3 free movement and embodiment sessions with Ashley. And we'll announce those prior to the next episode. This is like, y'all are gonna want to post something. That is such it's going to be 3 delicious sessions, and I promise you will want more afterward. So yes, again, thank you, Ashley. And I am again so grateful for our friendship, and I can't wait for our journey to continue.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure, and I look forward to our journey ahead as well.
Yeah. That's it, y'all. That's our show. Big thank you to Black Dream Escape for providing us with the intro and outro music for season 2. We sincerely love your work and hope rest comes to us all. And big thank you to Vesta for producing our small but mighty podcast. This show is powered by the people. May the abundance come back to you and spread like wildfire. Sunseed Community is a space to practice collective healing. We do this through workshops, body and energy work, tarot, individual container building, and this podcast. To learn more, book us, and support us, visit sunseedcommunity.com and follow us on IG or Facebook at Sunseed Community. Bye, y'all. Rest will come. Rest will come. Rest will come. rest will come.